It's a fine Friday here on Splash Play, and I think a Zero RB Friday, but of course it is a BBM5 draft competing for $1.5 million. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the hidden gems, and frankly, I should just put Zero RB Friday on the title of the video, but it's okay. We're going to move it forward here in a draft room already. Let's get it going. And to quickly update our Squirt Squad members for the week, and I see we are once again chock full of regulars, so it is going to be a draft where value will get scooped up by other people, and I am going to have to change the draft start time because a little bit aggressive here. We got Feelin' Moosey here in the 11th. Got our guy Raise It in the 4-hole. FFB holes, once again, the 12-hole. Bombadil, who is in every draft room, but does not comment in the chat. He's in here, so we will see what these guys do, and hopefully get a fresh draft room on Monday, because I know that is a complaint point by some viewers out there. The BBM, of course, most favorable prize structure in the biz. Interesting EV calculations going on. John Boy Beats John Jackson posted out a fun tweet that I had retweeted the other day, and I basically speculated that somebody's going to do this faster than I could possibly do it, or would care to do it, breaking down the EV per calculation overall. So in a lot of these rooms, I think right now, a lot of these drafts rather, there is some good EV to go around, and it does seem like BBM actually looking like a very good structure. There are some people, though, I did see on social media posting about, hey, you need to consider reconsider the EV calculations for individual rounds as well. So that's something people are going to be looking at. But definitely seems like overall, a lot of the tournament structures out there, whether it be on DraftKings, whether it be on Drafters, whether it be on Underdog, does seem like a lot of them a little more favorable this year in terms of the expected value per your finals entries. So good news for everybody, no matter what draft from, no matter what platform you're drafting on. But definitely, we are an Underdog household here. Oh, the icon. Oh, shame. What a shame. All right, let's see what we're going to do here at the 10-hole. Until here we go. FFB holes there. Everybody's here. Everybody's here. Now, like working on a Friday morning, a tractor with a cold beer and Spags in one ear. I will take that. I don't know. Is that a thing that people do? The tractor and a beer? I guess I would say I do worse things with beers in my hand or in my heart even. All right, pick 10 here. Puka goes at 7. Amon-Ra at 8. So we are in an avalanche room. AJ Brown, a guy that I'm a little bit lower on than I would like to be in general in terms of how I approached him in the big board. Against a Kellen Moore offense coming in. AJ Brown, new contract. Devontae, new contract as well. So everybody paid and happy in Philadelphia. I'll take AJ Brown here. We'll see what we get on the way back. Was thinking also Marvin Harrison Jr., another guy who was never a hidden gem, but certainly a player that at this point going in the first round safely in pretty much every room. If he ever was a hidden gem, it was going to be when he was going towards the tail end of the second round, and that is now no longer the case. And of course, FFB holes take Harrison here, so we will get nothing unexpected. Yeah, I think Monday I would watch out for a draft starting at 10:45 for you guys. Just I need a change here. It's been the same guys in every room this week, and I would love some variety. Yeah, that's what we do. We draft Jaden Daniels on the 1-2 pairing. That's it. That's how you win in best balls, taking guys 100 spots ahead of ADP. You won't get that kind of intel in any other channels out there, but I'll be the one to tell you, especially if you're going to be in every draft room of mine. Please reach for all your guys. Drake London goes. Think it would have been fun to get him. Oh, this is like the least fun Friday. This would be an objectively unfun Friday for me, but no, that's chalky anyway. People are taking AJ Brown and Saquon a lot. I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk, though that could disappear as BBM goes on. Fucking kill me. I already hate this Friday. I hate that we're fucking up too many same names in the draft. I hate that AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley are my picks. We're going Eagles, though. AJ Brown and Saquon here. Oof. Team so far, Philadelphia focused. A place I don't enjoy living. A place that I don't want to see the fans of generally. Eagles fans everywhere is not, and might not shock you guys, their entire identity wrapped up in the Eagles. Like Eagles, Phillies, some people, I guess, Flyers. The entire region is tied up in the Eagles in a way that does not make you feel joyful when you are not an Eagles fan. Is this really drastic? Jeremy, there's a playlist with every draft. Yes, it's really drastic. No, I'm making up numbers. Fuck. Yes, it's draft 66 for me. There we go. Remember when Jamar Chase was the 5th round pick? That many moons ago? Garrett Wilson was what, a 10th round pick at one point? Lots to go there. Do for the city. I'd rather burn down. I'd rather be the bane of the city of Philly. I guess that's not a terroristic threat. To be clear, I'm not being serious, but But no, I'm not. Philly's fine. Like downtown Philly, the restaurants in Philly, I'll say okay. But like the traffic, the drivers, worse than New York. Travis Kelce at 22. So we're getting a mix of guys here who are going to soak up the value and then dumb shits. This is not my ideal room, guys. I'll tell you. I could fucking tell right away. Yes, not BBM 66. Yes, that's pretty clear. That's why. Okay. Whew. Shout out to the chat, though. Shout out to the chat. See what we get on the way back here. It's going to be an interesting weekend for me because I'm going to be doing a lot of work this weekend. Wife and Luca going to be out of town. They're going to go to New York for the weekend. I'll be here with our rapidly aging dog who turns 14 at the end of the month. And she is hobbling around and shit. So good news is the Spags rankings, by the way, if you are a paying member of the channel, going to get pushed this weekend. So if you want to use my rankings to draft off of, or if you just want to read through all the tidbits I have per player and look at the EPA metrics, just the pass, EPA per target, EPA per rush metrics from Sports Info Solutions. That's coming out this weekend for all the paying members. So good time to hit the join button down below, $4.99 a month, and you can see all of my takes there. And then you can use them in drafts against me, I suppose, if you really want to. Kelce draft with Ottawa was 2023, had some crazy value. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, honestly, I think as we get into the draft season, we get into BBM more so, there are going to be a lot of people that do start taking Kelce earlier because that is the price lock of previous years. That is what we've talked about with the investment principles that people have a lot where you see, oh my God, Andrew's at 31. Okay. This room is it's a really weird mix. So you have batshit moves from this spot, no bad drafters. You have guys like Raise It, guys like Bombadil, guys like FFB holes who soak up value pretty aggressively. Any players that are going to be appealing to somebody like me, those guys are going to take them before I get them. So it's an interesting mix here of off the rails picks and then slight values. Maybe this one will go to me. Who knows? Maybe we'll get something good for once, but no. The biggest discount is Josh Jacobs. Ooh boy. A kid named Jimmy taking up the entire clock to take DK Metcalf. Good for him. We'll take Devontae Smith here, I suppose. And see what happens after that, right? No logical person would take Jalen Hurts now, knowing that there's no correlation there. Got Michael Pittman going. Take everybody besides Jalen Hurts. Take everybody besides Jalen Hurts. Don't you dare, Bombadil. You're in enough giraffe rooms. We're doing full Philly today. It's the one way I could make up for getting Saquon. Taking Saquon at pick 15? Become everything I hate. Wow, Zay Flowers at 38. Okay. Thank you, Bombadil. Jalen Hurts. Come on home. Go. Go, Birds, go. Go, Birds, go. Actually, I think Alex is still here because she's leaving at 12. Alex, I just drafted a bunch of Eagles, if you can hear me. There we go. She's delighted. No incoming snipe. We did it. Holy Philly. We got Philly. So there we go. It's worth it. This one draft room. Fucking idiots taking weird tight end picks way too early. We got our Philly stack. Might be a fairly rare stack. That's the thing that we talk about here, and that's why I did take Saquon initially. Something that stuck out to me last year in a pretty big way was with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. There was a point where I and other drafters out there were going, oh, that Hill-Waddle stack, that's too chalky. Everybody's going to have that because the ADPs aligned perfectly in the beginning part of BBM. As the summer went on, as ADPs shift around, you couldn't then get it perfectly. They were on different parts of the board for large portions of that draft. So that's something that stuck out to me last year that, listen, I fucking hate Saquon in the beginning part of the second round. But if we're talking about Brandon Ayuk, we're talking about Diggs, we're talking about Olave, guys you're normally able to get cheaper. I think for going for a unique build that maybe won't be there later on, maybe Saquon passes Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, I'm not going to rule out the stuff that people are going to do in June, July, August, especially July and August. So I think soaking up the quote unquote, chalk stacks and hoping they get unique as they go on was one of my bigger lessons from last year. So if you want to take anything away from this video, that's it. But to be clear, in terms of the headline of the video, or at least the one that's on it right now about hidden gems, Saquon Barkley, not a hidden gem. If anything, he's a cut gem. He's the part of Uncut Gems, the film, where spoiler alert, Adam Sandler's brains leaking out. That's what he is. Dangerous out in the early streets. There we go. Chalky or not, pod selections erases a ton of them. Also true. Also true. Especially if that chalk, I mean, especially if the chalk stack disappoints or one of those guys disappoints, and then the players who are drafting them normally did not have the value around that to make up, or the player reads, the player luck, whatever you want to call it, to make that up. I think that would certainly be the case too. But happy with the start. What I feel about Neighbors at second round, I mean, I prefer him being the 2-3 turn. The Drew Lock, Daniel Jones stuff has not gotten better as the offseason has gone on, where Daniel Jones now, there's been a lot of talk about the injury guarantees, and I might want to avoid that. Drew Lock, initially there was reports saying that the team had told him it was a competition for the starting job. Then both the team and Drew Lock walked that back. Now the reporter whispers saying that Drew Lock thinks he can compete for the job. I'm not sure how that all affects Malik Neighbors, because last year, I know people, the bid is that I'm in the bag for Drew Lock. Drew Lock really wasn't that good last year. Like, went through the numbers. He was okay under pressure. That was probably the best thing. He had a negative 0.3 EPA there, which is like flat with the good QBs. Besides that, though, like okay catchable ball rate, okay on target rate, but everything else is minus EPAs across the board. He didn't run very much. So like Drew Lock, I don't think is like going to be some saving grace. And I think for Daniel Jones, he was also really bad and completely fell apart under pressure. We had almost a negative 1.5 EPA under pressure, which basically means that in terms of the expected points added metric, you're giving away 1.5 points every time that you're getting a pressure play. That's really bad for him. So the fact that he's going to be less mobile, and then he's never been a great pocket passer anyway, those are the concern points. The non-concern point for Neighbors is that he's one of the more talented receivers to come into the league in the last 10 years. So I would tend to think you want to buy in on talent, but I mean, we just saw like a really talented receiver, Drake London, a couple years ago, coming in and bad QB play, bad offensive play calling, and he doesn't ever really hit a ceiling besides 1 or 2 games here and there. Maybe, I might be undershooting it a little bit, but like that's really what Drake London's been. And Malik Neighbors, that's the fear, is that he's Drake London. The one thing that's good for Neighbors, though, is like London is a boundary receiver, a guy who's got to get there, beating coverage on the outside. Neighbors, you can just scheme him touches out on like 1 air yard per target, and he's going to be able to make some guys miss and make some plays happen. So like his outcome is still being Wan'Dale Robinson, and maybe probably weekly he could be ceiling Wan'Dale Robinson, and that wouldn't be bad. But that for him is like he's not as good as he could be if he went to Tennessee before they traded everybody. If he went to like an open depth chart, Carolina even, like where he comes in and he's like a key guy there, is getting reps. So like Neighbors, but tough. Great take. Thanks. There we go. All right. Tyler's happy. That's all I can ask. But yeah, I like Neighbors a lot. I love the talent. It's just, who knows? Who knows how that goes? So McLaurin does not come back to where he's been going. Again, McLaurin coming up. So I do feel like that's one thing that I was a little early on the big board, but now people are coming along for the ride with. Christian Kirk, I know people like a lot. I think there's something to do here that could be pretty wacky. What if we took Anthony Richardson too? The jersey's back in 2024. If you did not watch the big board, I own 1 football jersey in the world. Actually, I own 2. I own Tony Romo's old jersey because I dressed up as Tony Romo once for Halloween. And I own this Anthony Richardson jersey. And these are the 2 QBs that I guess I don't ever have a shot to put on the Tony Romo jersey, but the AR one's back on. Team so far: Jalen Hurts at AR, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith. We are living. It's Gabe Davis new. It's jersey time. Oh man, I mean, look, we are loaded at QB, guys. We are. It's not a Jaden Daniels team. I should have taken her. No, you shouldn't have. Oh, because are you the Pittman guy? You're the Pittman guy. Feeling Moosey's the Pittman guy. I didn't connect that in my head. Okay. So there we go. Sorry. AR could have come back to 59 for you. I'm out for this draft. Though honestly, maybe if I make it up at wide receiver, I could take a luxury 3rd QB. It's Jaden Daniels. But no, once McLaurin was gone, I think it was written in stone for me. Colts blue. Yeah, really brings out my brown eyes. All right, 2-1-2-0 here. We're getting the same guys who were there right back for us. I still like Odunze, but as my wide receiver 3, do I like him that much? Unclear. Kamara, Jones, Rashee Rice. The dip on Rashee Rice already in effect. I'm going to take Odunze here, I think. Yeah, let's go Odunze. Ridley would have been a valid pick to me. Brian Thomas would have been a valid pick to me. Not dying for George Kittle. I feel like if I'm not getting elite tight end by this point, George Kittle's not really my guy unless I'm trying to build some Niners stuff. which you could make the case I could have gone Kittle there just to get another top NFC team potentially. But we'll take Odunze, who's come down a lot already in the big board, compared to the big board rather, and so far in BBM. Rice being rumored for a half-season suspension. That's the rumor. Though one of the legal experts, the Davenport guy, I think Drew Davenport's his name, but I feel like has been hitting it pretty well in general, his legal takes. He said he didn't see that as being credible, really, but obviously that's the concern by the Chiefs. That was what was reported out there, is they think it could be a half year. I think that's more of a team doomsday planning more so, where like that's the worst case outcome. My bet is still 4 games. Maybe he gets a 6 because there's video and like it's pretty public and he's young and you want to maybe show these guys like, because the rookies this year, coming in, or, the second year guys who were rookies last year, you have Rashee Rice with that. You have the stuff with Zay Flowers, like domestic violence stuff. You got Tank Dell's doesn't seem like it's his fault at all. Tank Dell getting shot. So like, kind of wonder if maybe they come down a little bit harder on Rashee Rice, just be like, okay, guys, like let's like, if you start fucking up, like you got to know from day one, it's going to be a bad scene for you. And that's a possibility to me. All right. Can't do Worthy over Odunze. Depends how you believe in Kansas City, I guess, but I like Odunze more. Again, I just believe that Chicago is going to be an electric offense here from the moment it happens. And it comes down to like, I think that teams with something to prove matter a lot more. And I would say at this point, to fit the current title of the video, like Rome Odunze, I believe is, something of a hidden gem. If he's going to start going the 60s, 70s, like he shouldn't be going behind Ladd McConkey. No respect to Ladd. He shouldn't be going behind Keon Coleman if that's a possibility. Him going behind Brian Thomas I could live with, but Brian Thomas goes 72 here. Like Rome is still a top 10 pick, who Caleb Williams, who the QB wanted. And we've just saw last year a rookie QB requesting a player, demanding a player, whatever you want to call it, with Stroud and Dell. That led to an instant connection. I think for Caleb and, like he's going to feed Moore, he's going to feed Allen, but he's going to feed Odunze too. It's going to be 3 wide receiver sets. There'll be some 12 personnel because they didn't sign Gerald Everett for nothing, but there's going to be a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. Him going behind Rice is wild. Are we talking about, I don't know. Oh, we're talking about Worthy? I'm not following the chat. Chat's always two levels ahead of me. Too much chat's going on. Dude, he's a third option. That's not how I would view it. I don't know. It's not about just a ranking of options. And it's also not a situation like Seattle where they were a team that just ran a lot of 2 wide receiver sets and then JSN couldn't get in the field. Like Chicago, I would imagine will play more 3 wide. I guess the critique you can make of that take would be that Shane Waldron last year, who was Seattle offensive coordinator, now he's the Bears offensive coordinator, is that he did not run 3 wide receiver sets. But I don't know. I think if you could cut it either way, really. But I wouldn't sweat it that much. I don't think they're drafting Rome Odunze to not play. The stuff that I have critiques about Odunze too. Like he was the guy that I nitpicked the most out of top 5 receivers, top 6. So I have the most critiques of him in general, but he's a great athlete and a good enough target earner. And he's got top 10 draft capital and the QB wanted him. Like what more can you ask for besides just less guys ahead of him? But if you're going to get guys ahead of you, it's older guys / a DJ Moore who maybe is at some point going to be a less good version of Rome Odunze, if not this year, soon. All right, we have 2-1-3-0 here. Could go back to running back and take a Ramondre. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of his. JSN, Hopkins, Watson, all players I like. Watson going down. Hopkins going down a little, and I don't think that's correct. I think he's a good wide receiver 4 for me here. So we have a shot here of an AR Tennessee matchup in week 17, maybe. That's not the reason I took Hopkins, though. Hopkins, to me, at pick 82, just greatly undervalued. There's no 3rd wide receiver there. This is an offense that's going to be greatly improved with Brian Callahan as the head coach. Offensive coordinator, Jed Finch, not the biggest guy I'm a fan of, coming from Jacksonville. But we are back on the clock, though. Would be a good pocket for running back. We could also take Brock Bowers at ADP, and I would not be mad at that. And that's what we're going to do here. The last elite tight end in the big board now is going pick 88, and I will take Brock Bowers on the way back down. So let's give the seam a read. We're going to go Jalen Hurts, Anthony Richardson, Saquon Barkley. We are actually probably not going to take Dallas Goedert. I would rather make a play that is not Dallas Goedert on this team. But Saquon Barkley is our running back. Blech. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So completing the concentrated bet for Philadelphia. Rome Odunze, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Brock Bowers, a tight end. So we will hopefully still get 5 wide receivers, around 100. That'll be okay. Brocky B, our guy Adam in the chat, of course, did a great job on the stream yesterday. Make sure to check that one out if you missed it. Keep on squirting, says Bindles. Member here now for 3 months. Some people out there have been full-term pregnancy of members too. Great to see that here on the channel. Of course, $4.99 a month. Hit that join button down below. You support the show, and you also get the Spags rankings, which will officially be dropping this weekend. Now that the ADPs have leveled out, they're still moving enough that I'm going to have to move some stuff around. But the blurbs are done, so we're going to push the rankings out. So if you really want to draft off of rankings here, and I do comb through them pretty meticulously. We'll see how the updates go, but you will know in the Squirt Squad Discord, which you also get as a paid member, when there are updates. I will drop a notification in there whenever there's an update. This team slaps, and so jealous of that Philly super duper stack. Done over 220 drafts here. Haven't achieved that stack once. Well, there you go. There we go. Other people got players I like more, but I maybe got a unique stack. We'll see. We'll see how unique it is, because that, I mean, for me, this did align fairly perfectly. But obviously, you know, you have the two guys here at the turn. It only takes one of them being a maniac, and then they can blow it out. Definitely, stack's possible. I've seen it a few times. Keep trying. There we go. So there's Feeling Moosey, Bombadil to rain on my parade. And Bindle's giving away a Splash Play membership. Who got it? Let me know. OBJ to Miami. Is that official now? That's honestly probably doesn't matter that much, but Malik Washington and Taj Washington, I thought were very live to be kind of interesting in a BBM as an 18th round pick. Malik Washington in particular, because he is a good target earner, 35% target route run rate for him. But if OBJ is there, then that's official. Not the best. Chase Claypool, mentoring Keon Coleman. That sounds about right. 75 people. We need 75 likes. Yeah, it'd be great. Well, that number just went down, but shout out to everybody here watching live. If you watch live or after the fact, please do hit that like button. Please subscribe as well. Subscriptions, a little bit of a vanity metric, but likes do matter a lot here because it helps me get seen by more people, especially people with viewing habits like you. So if you're somebody that watches all Pete's videos, hit this like button. Helps you get seen by people that watch more Pete's videos. If you're somebody that watches all the Fantasy Flock videos, hit the like button. Helps me get seen by those folks. So that's how YouTube actually works. So if you guys really want to support the channels that need the love here, including me, an independent proprietor here, doing drafts Monday to Friday at 11 a.m., please do that. And of course, if you're new to Underdog Jared Goff at 99 and 2 at 94 are awful picks. That is stupid play by the 3-hole who also took Kelsey at 22. I hope he's not in the draft in the chat, but like if he is, do some work, man. He's not a good team in the 3-hole. Either way, though, promo code Splash and Underdog. They're actually changing the deposit. I think it's now going to be up to $250. That doesn't take effect until the 9th. So if you just want to get the straight deposit match, now's the time to do that. They're going to switch, I believe, to like a variable deposit bonus to make the deposit bonus also like gambling, I think is what they're doing. But Underdog, if you want to get on the current promo code, now's the time to do it. Get your deposit match up to $100. And then you have the higher upside potentially, but you also might get like a $50 deposit match, I believe is how it's going to go. So keep that in mind, guys. There we go. Our guy, Nick Lepre, Notorious Fantasy on YouTube. 2 is a first-round pick IMO. Yep. Glad that you believe that. Take him over Tyreek. That's the way to go. Though Tyreek in this draft went 101, so somebody else might believe in the Dolphins just as much. But yeah, this is like the reason why these are bad picks too, just for what it's worth. Jared Goff in drafts has gone in the 140s in rooms I've been in. 2 has gone in the 130s pretty reliably. You know, it's going to close up a little bit more with people trying to finish off their stacks. But in this particular room, like this guy's got Waddle. He reached for Travis Kelce. It's just bad usage of draft capital. Kelce you can get at 42. Like overall, this team could have been a lot better for him, and it's not. All right, interesting spot here. Interesting spot here. I think it'd be a good running back spot, but I could use receivers as well. I am going to go Zach Moss here. There was something else tempting me on the screen, but I'm going to keep it in my head for now. Our second running back, Zach Moss. There's a chart that Hayden Winks put out, of course, that Underdog does a great job on YouTube, also does a great job on social media for himself, and has been on Splash Play before, so give us the bump by proxy there. But Hayden had tweeted this chart showing that Zach Moss, in terms of the workload last year, in terms of the goal line work, and there was some other metric he had with it, but Zach Moss stepping into probably the best goal line role in football, where they fed Joe Mixon last year so aggressively, so repeatedly, that it's probably going to be a pretty good situation for him coming in day one. Obviously, you have Chase Brown there. Chase Brown, I think, is the better play overall as a guy that can maybe earn that role over the course of a year. But to me, Zach Moss is undervalued in terms of like what that opportunity could be, and I've probably been undervaluing him too. So reports coming out from Denver that Javonte might not be long for the starting job, and Estime might get a real shot at least at goal line work, so he's got to come down. Brian Robinson, though, there's been nothing bad about him, and I continue to think he should be priced in the 90s, if not the 100s. So Brian Robinson here, come on down. He is my RB3. We're going to get a little creative at wide receiver later on because we only have 4 receivers through pick 111. So a little bit drier there than I would like. But the team so far, a 2-3-4-1, numerically pleasing there. Jalen Hurts and AR at QB. That's why I'm wearing the jersey. Saquon Barkley, Zach Moss, Brian Robinson Jr. at running back. Wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Romo Dunze, and DeAndre Hopkins. So we definitely, I think at this point, need volume at wide receiver to make up for getting a flimsier pick in Rome, perhaps, and then just not a lot of top 100 volume. 5 receivers for top 100 should generally be the goal. And then Brock Bowers, a tight end, who I still believe is elite tight end capability, even though people are going to be afraid of the part of Michael Mayer. But Michael Mayer wasn't picked by this regime. Brock Bowers was, and I still think they do run both guys out there quite a bit. Not worried about Eckler, no. There's no like the signal from everything so far has been that Eckler is going to be a change of pace back and a pass down back, which doesn't matter very much when you have Jaden Daniels out there. And Brian Robinson is going to be the lead back, the guy who's going to be salting games away, and the goal line back. So I would not be worried about that. Eckler was also awful last year. Something that AM fell to, yeah. Adonai Mitchell would have been a nice pick too, but he did not get there. I'm honestly, really, to me, this team is a Philly stack, and then AR is going to have spike weeks that if they don't correlate to anything, I'm really not going to sweat it that much. At this point, honestly, for Indianapolis, with AD Mitchell not coming back to me there, there's nothing else I would really, like, what do you take? You're going to take Alec Pierce for free in the 20th round? I could do that, but his role's probably gone. I guess Downs has come down enough where maybe that's a play. But I could also live without Josh Downs. I really think AR is a player where we talk sometimes about stacks where the QB, like, what does it do for you? Kind of think AR, like, there's going to be spike weeks there. But if you have a good receiver core, like, I don't think you need the pass catcher with AR. I still would like to get one if I can. Still fundamentally believe that stacks are the move for everything. But, like, AR is going to give you 25-point days where, like, no receiver gets more than 2 touchdowns or more than 1 touchdown even, or over 100 yards. So, like, at that point, what's he really creating for you in terms of a stack? I can live without him being stacked up at all. So they like his dad, goal line back on MHJ's team. Oh, MH2. Wait, MH2 is what we're calling him? How about just MH and MHJ? Wouldn't that be it? Instead of MH2 and MH1? Throw me for a loop. Jelani Woods, not a play for me. They have like 4 guys they want to play there. Drew Ogletree beat his domestic violence allegations too. So I guess I shouldn't say the word beat for that. He got rid of his domestic violence allegations. So you're talking they have 4 receivers there that they like to play still. Jelani Woods had a hamstring that kept him out for an entire year. So Jelani Woods, we can live without doing anything there. Jelani Woods was an early 2023 play that once he couldn't get out on the field at all in July and August, he was not a player to take after that, and people kept doing it. I'm not going to make this mistake in 2024 personally. And again, like when you have Brock Bowers, I mean, the hope is that, like, do I need Jelani Woods in this build? I don't think so. He did not murder his allegations. He did beat them. That's correct. He beat his domestic violence, kicked it to the curb. Claypool to the Bills. That's where they are right now. They're moneyballing their wide receiver core, which is an approach. Josh Downs goes to this guy. So no correlation for AR, which I figured was going to be the case, and I just don't care that much. I will take AR's rushing days and throwing for 1 touchdown sporadically. That's enough for me. 2-3-4-1 here. Really nobody at running back or receiver I feel like I need to get right now. I'm actually going to get Dalton Schultz here. I think this makes tight end more potent. We're getting a share of a Houston offense that I like a lot. 6 picks after ADP. And we're going to stick wide receiver. We're going to stick running back. We're going to manage these pockets a little more effectively. This is a weird room for me in terms of how I handled this, where I normally like to really reel off wide receiver, maybe seeking an elite tight end if I can. Jumping around positionally this much is tough. But I think with ADPs, with where they are right now, I think I can manage this in a way where I still like the team. And obviously, that's the main goal here. We got one more pick coming up. We'll see what these guys do on the turn. The Colts haven't had a relevant tight end since Clark. That's probably true. It's probably true. People really wanted Jelani Woods to be a thing, and I think that is, again, that price lock from previous years being there a little bit more. He's a big guy, but he honestly wasn't even that great analytically the one year that he had. So it seems like receivers getting pushed down now. There's going to be a run at some point. Some guys I think are undervalued, but I just don't have the faith in Saquon, and I'm going to go Zeke here and get maybe a little interconference correlation. Zeke, fourth running back off the board. As I've talked about here, I think Zeke should be priced in the 110s, 120s range. He is a guy who I think has a presumptive starting role. I think people are getting a little bit thrown off by the fact that some reports out there, some media out there that doesn't really know what they're talking about. They're like, oh, the Cowboys are signing Zeke to be a backup. Even fantasy media out there have seen there's nothing that said they're signing him to be a backup. They're signing him at a contract that's not like insane starter level, but it's a contract where it's like Rico Dowdle's not getting paid more. So for Zeke, I think that that's the main thing for him is that he's coming into an ambiguous backfield, but he's the most logical bet in an ambiguous backfield. You can make your bets on Dowdle. You can even make a bet on Royce Freeman if you want late. But I think that's really, I guess that would really be it. Just those three would be the ones I'd maybe make a bet on. But Royce Freeman, I'm probably not making any bets on. Any chance the Colts bring in Logan Thomas, Tunyon? I wouldn't. They already have 4 bodies there. They have more tight ends that they actually play than most teams in the league. So I don't know why you'd bring in another one. So they bring in someone else. It's possible. I mean, they could bring in another cheap guy. I feel like they're showing us the signal right now of what they want to do, which is like they want to bring in guys that are not worth much and just see what can happen out of that, which is the way to play running back, honestly. Like they should have taken a draft pick, but the way to play money ball at running back would be you bring in 2 to 3 free agents, you bring in 1 to 2 rookies, and you just see who can win it out. If you believe in your team around that is good enough, you can get running back production from that, especially because one guy's going to run hot, or you could have a hot hand approach where one guy's looking good one week and you shift them around. But I think that's what they're trying to do some version of. They just did it maybe not the best way. So it's possible they had somebody else, but the devil, bringing back somebody who you lost before, like think about in your life, like, my wife and I at one point stopped seeing each other. We went on 3 dates, then I was like, not for me. And then we came back and then didn't leave after that. But for like jobs too, like people who leave a job then come back, there's a lot of people that actually do that now in 2024. A lot of that is usually a sign of like, oh, maybe we fucked this up the first time and we shouldn't have gone that way. So I would still think that's a good sign for Zeke. He's a back they trust, and in that backfield, somebody's either got to be really good to be like, they have to be really good to beat him out. That's basically it. Khalil Herbert, if he gets traded, why would he get traded? He's going to get cut, if anything. I don't think a third running back on a team where they know that you're likely going to cut one of your running backs is not necessarily a player that I think the Bears hold on to him just because nobody wants him, and it doesn't make sense to cut him. You want some contingent value for your running back room. And if one of Roschon or DeAndre Swift goes out, then you have nobody there to step in. So I think they keep Herbert. I think people keep wish casting Herbert stuff out there. I keep seeing the Cowboys thing. It's probably Miles Sanders too. People keep wish casting him getting out of Carolina, going to Dallas. They just take things at face value for the most part. The time to read the tea leaves is pre-free agency in the big board. Time to read the tea leaves right now is about talent and stuff. It's not about the guy I like is going to get cut, or the guy that I am trying to Sklansky bucks my way to value is going to get cut and go somewhere better. It's not it. Grass isn't always greener. That is true. But I think for football especially, there's like a willfulness to that I would read into a little bit more. Herbert's the cheapest of the 3, and they'll just take their late comp pick next year. Yeah, I think that's about right. Rico between the 20s, Zeke between the 20s. So I don't know, man. You guys can talk yourself into whoever you want. Your guess in May is gonna be as good as mine, but I don't think it's a good take, personally. If they wanted Rico, they'd bring Rico back and they wouldn't bring in real competition for him. They'd bring in a 4 Royce Freemans. And I guess if you really want to be down on Zeke, you could say he and Royce Freeman the same play. I just don't think so in how Dallas views it. They loved Zeke. Like they loved that guy. They didn't want to get rid of him. They did everything they could to avoid getting rid of him, but they got capped out. And now his contract's at a point where he can afford it. All right, this works out pretty well. This was not my plan, but I'm going to take Troy Franklin here. Troy Franklin down to 154. Ah, man. Makes me sad for him, but steal of the draft right now. And again, the hidden gems theme. He's a hidden gem. He's not hidden too well. I guess he wasn't at one point, and now he's back to being hidden again. And he will earn reps in Denver. That is it, man. This is not Skolansky Bucks for me. This is him. Like they got to trade up for him. Talk positively about him. Bo Nix, best buddies. I don't want to I want Troy Franklin to dip, but I don't want you guys to be wrong on this in this particular room. Buy the dip on Franklin, please. Buy it all year. Oh, okay. So again, T. Owens. The blurb on RotoWire says Herbert. Again, that's the same fucking thing I was just talking about. Stop trying to make Herbert happen because you have a lot of Herbert bags. Accept that he is where he is. The blurb on Roto, yes, the credible blurb on RotoWire says he's trade bait. The thing that they just put speculation posts up there so you check alerts and so they can feed their API requirements to give to DraftKings, to all these sites out there that take their news items. That doesn't mean actual news. Actual news matters, not RotoWire blurbs. 2452 here. Interesting pocket. Nothing correlation-wise we need to get. Though, you know what? I think when we're a little bit low on receiver, just making a bet in a team that I think is going to be good is the move. Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin, come on down. I almost said Cortland Sutton earlier to set up a Denver without Bo Nix stack, and I'm going to do that here with Franklin and Marvin Mims instead. I guess the point that would be potentially a risk for Mims and Franklin together is that they're likely competing for a similar role, or at least or possibly the same role. I guess this build, I'm hoping Cortland Sutton gets traded or Sutton just kind of slips into the back a little bit more because of the fact that he's trying to get a new contract. Broncos aren't giving it to him or aren't likely to give it to him. So hopefully that's it. Herbert bags sound like an SCD. Maybe. I guess that's like a 1920s. Back in the 1920s, Herbert in the Great Depression in the Hoovervilles contracted a disease that they now call Herbert bags. And an ironic spin on that. Oh boy. All right. Why you think Denver's good? Why is that? Because Bo Nix was the most efficient EPA quarterback possibly ever in college football. Ran a professional offense. He's moving to one in Denver that has a lot of same principles, timing routes, short routes, things like that. Bo Nix himself might not have the huge upside, but that team is going to produce well around him. Whether they have, 100 yards per game upside, we'll see. But I believe in general, bringing in a good QB who can run an offense for a coach who is dying for a QB who just would listen to him and do what you're supposed to do within scheme is the big part. But I've talked about it incessantly. And that's why, hopefully you guys get these takes over the course of every stream, but I'm not going to dive in 30 miles deep on all of them every time. So Cowboys fan with so many O-line issues, no run game and rookie starting. I have lots of concerns with the offense moving forward. It might become a nightmare scenario quickly. Interesting. That's a take you don't see very much. I think everybody instead just puts Dallas out there as like they're going to do exactly what they did last year and high pass rate over expectation. But if the line is worse and, they added some draft capital in there, so the hope is that makes it better. But they did lose Smith. Like, that's a pretty big loss there. I don't know. I would try to err on the side of thinking that they can get there in terms of team continuity. But it's an interesting take to play where just playing the chalk outcome, the expected outcome fading is a big part of best ball. If you play, we talk about the 101 a lot with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey hitting is the most likely outcome. He's on the best team with a deliberate force of workload they keep giving him, even though they did take some running backs that maybe could portend him getting less work. But in general, that's a chalk assumption. So everything you do in best ball is like, what are the chalk assumptions I don't believe in and how do I pick away at that? Or at least in an individual drafts, like in this particular draft, what's a chalk assumption that I can go against here? So I would say that Dallas bombing out and just being a team that like Dak becomes Daniel Jones, there are things you could read into Dallas that would be bad. I'm probably not going to play it that way very often, but I think it's a credible thing by W for Omega. I think you believe in, so like the stuff that'd be bad for Dallas is Dak not getting the new contract. That is one where he's been already linked to go into the Giants potentially in the next offseason. So that's not great. So that's one thing. You have the Trey Lance thing, which he was never happy with. That's still looming around. You do have the offensive line, at least the shift there. They brought in some draft capital, but lost some vets. That's not great. Defensively, you have Diggs coming off the injury, also a couple of retirements on defense that are not there. So, it's possible they could go that way. And also flaming out against Green Bay, maybe that portends the full flame out that comes this year. But I don't know. Unique bet. Okay. I think D. Owens, I generally can tell when people are a little bit too into guys. And I think that's the take. That's the take when somebody's like fighting to find a reason to like a guy that they previously liked. It's how it comes off to me. But maybe that's a misread by me. All right, we have a 2462 here. Pick coming up. Jill McLaughlin down to 176. All you McLaughlin fans, buy the dip, I suppose. Malachi Corley goes. Nice quotes about him and the run game in particular. We hate Khalil Herbert, as we've gone into. Bucky Irving, I think, is still not coming up enough. And I don't trust Saquon as the hero RB. So we're going to go 5 running backs here and go Bucky Irving. Team so far, 2562. And we will give it a read after this one. You incorporate interdivisional stacks for strategy, example, Denver Chiefs. No, because you're just guessing for the most part. If it aligns, and that's the thing to talk yourself into, great. But yeah, like it's mostly if it aligns for me. Like if there's Philadelphia and I see, Ezekiel Elliott there, I'm going, well, maybe I get the week 17 outcome, but it shouldn't be a priority for you because you're not likely to get that right. I think famously, who was a chip last year on the stream with me and Pete, where he reached for Tyler Conklin to try to get some bizarro correlation for week 17 that ended up not being there. I think that's generally the way to try to view it. Or we have a 2562 here. Would not be opposed to another running back, but running back is not looking great right now. Obviously, we do need more wide receivers. Adam Thielen is not the one for me, though. I'll make the bet on Javon Baker here just because we are trying to add a little more volume. And Baker, good after catch guy, does come with some pedigree. Even though he did downgrade himself. He had his good year at South Florida, which does not maybe fill you with confidence when you go down from a big school and then you have your good year at a lesser school. But he really talks highly about himself. If nothing else, Javon Baker, some social media posts saying that he's the Amon-Ra St. Brown approach of like he doesn't believe there's 10 receivers in the draft better than him. I believe there are. I believe there's actually like 15. But for pick 16 here, Drake May offense will do that. Shout out to guy Robert Griffin III. Happy payday. The Dallas logo is a dirt star. There we go. I shout out to guy Robert Griffin III, and I will get back to your team review stuff in a little bit. I owe a couple people team reviews as well, but generally just give me 24 hours because, frankly, they're accumulating at a higher rate, and I am also up doing revisions to our investor deck for probably all hours of the night now because we are going back in the market because after wasting fucking weeks. That's showbiz. Let's see. Bucky Irving, seems crazy undervalued. Everyone excited for Ray Davis, Buffalo offense. Yeah, I agree. I think people will catch up on Bucky at some point. I think in particular when they see that he's working with the first team in July. I hope that he keeps it up. Bucky is a guy that I've expected where the athletic testing was really bad, made me afraid he's not getting enough draft capital, which is why I didn't take him a little bit. Well, I still took him above the field, but I didn't take him as much as I was going to initially because the athletic testing was that bad. But now we're past that part. Athletic testing really matters for the draft capital portion more than it does the play. The hope is he's going to get on the field and immediately be a game changer. And with him, especially being a high avoided tackle rate guy, him being a guy that also earned targets, him also being a very high EPA player in the run game and the pass game, the hope is that Bucky gets on the field and, if he could beat out Rachaad White, awesome. Because I do think they fell out of love with Rachaad White down the stretch last year. But really the big thing for me is like, if he could just get the pass game work, that could be really valuable because Baker's biggest days have been when he's able to feed, a pass game running back. And it's not Rachaad White anymore because they fucking phased him out of that role down the stretch. Oh, I'm up to. Oh, am I? Okay, I owe somebody else one then. I forget who it is. There's somebody coming in, but good to know. I never want to leave Ross hanging because Ross is actually one of my better coach pupils, I would say. He's the Tiger Woods to my Earl Woods. Possibly in many different ways. Besides actual fatherhood. Baker Mayfield undervalued since the Bucs added line and pass catchers for him in the draft. They're a team I worry about. I think they downgraded pretty big at offensive coordinator, going from Dave Canales to the guy from University of Kentucky. Kentucky, I guess the one thing you could say is he used Ray Davis pretty well. Everything else in Kentucky, that offense like wasn't anything that I would say can be good in the pros or that you're going to think should be good in the pros. So I don't know. I'm okay with Tampa Bay being where it is. Baker does slide a lot, and I agree that Baker's undervalued in terms of what he had last year. I'm wondering, though, how it changes over. As I've talked about it many times on here, I think offensive coordinator is one of the biggest things that people in fantasy, because it's hard to prognosticate, because sometimes it is like the offensive coordinator brings their scheme, they bring what they did, it's 1-to-1. Sometimes the head coach exerts power over them, and then their offense changes to feed that. Sometimes it's also just the coordinator try something different in the next stop. So that's the risk point of coordinators, but I don't think it was an upgrade for them. But Baker last year, as we talked about the Spags rankings, not the ones where I do them manually, but the data version of them that I do in season, Baker was consistently top 5, top 10 as a QB because of the fact that he ran 5 times a game, because of the fact he threw deep 4 or 5 times a game. So like I would agree with how he played last year. He's undervalued. With how he might play this year, I don't know. Some rumors out there too that Chris Godwin could be a post June 1 cut, which I'm not sure about that. I feel like I haven't seen real team sources saying that. But that's one that's out there because they took Jalen McMillan, and it would make a lot more sense because right now with them taking Jalen McMillan, it's like, it's bad for Trey Palmer. It's bad for McMillan. So one body clearing out there, and it's not going to be Mike Evans, but one body clearing out would help those guys out a lot. Review the team that I took. It's great. One of the best teams I've seen. Yeah, the loss of Canales is pretty big. I think that's really, to me, one of the biggest things. It's huge for Carolina. And divisionally, too, like that's potentially the kind of swing that means, Tampa Bay not making the playoffs, Carolina getting closer to being on the cusp of making the playoffs. I don't think they actually make it. Like Atlanta's going to win the South. Like if they don't win the South, that's a colossal disappointment for them and everything they've done. But yeah. All right, 2572 here. I was actually thinking about going up and getting Audric Estime. I like the reports coming out of Denver. And the fact, too, as we talked about on stream, he's the only draft pick that the Broncos taken at running back. They did sign, again, Blake Watson as a UDFA. Last year, Jaleel McLaughlin a UDFA. But if local beat guys in Denver are talking about Javonte not being good last year, it could be them trying to make a story out of nothing. But I kind of think that's a team thing talking to them and going, yeah, like Javonte wasn't that great last year. We kind of realized that after the fact. And that could be something more than I gave credit for earlier in the big board. All right, 2672 here. Really think this is kind of a luxury pick. Could use the 8th receiver. Did you just really capture Denver and hope that we get that right? I'm not going to go for Aeneas Smith. I'm just going to try to capture Denver, I think. I'm going to go Josh Reynolds too. So we're making a bet. I think this is really a bet that Courtland Sutton gets shipped out and that somebody in that Denver offense is going to benefit from Nix being there on a weekly basis, which I do think is the best case. Like, I think the stack hitting every week is going to be tough for, like, let's say 2 pass catchers from Denver putting up 15 to 20 on a regular basis. Like, I don't know that I want to make that bet. I don't know. Like, I love Nix. I don't know that I have a confidence in that. But I think trying to make a bet that Nix can create value for guys in the stack enough times, I think is a more logical bet, especially for this build. So final team here at 2682. We have Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson at QB. Running back, Saquon, Zach Moss, Brian Robinson Jr., Ezekiel Elliott, Bucky Irving, Audric Estime. Those are my running backs. Wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So the full Philly quadrumvirate there. Rome Odunze, DeAndre Hopkins, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Javon Baker, and Josh Reynolds. So trying to get Denver guys stacked up, a low, hopefully ascendant offense. And then Brock Bowers and Dalton Schultz at tight end. We got potential divisional correlation with Denver, Vegas. Not that that was a priority. Potential divisional correlation with like Philadelphia stuff, with Washington, with Dallas. I like how this team came out. I don't know. All right, well, what do we do here? Let's let the draft finish out. Give these guys, because we do have some regulars. I know people like to track guys like Raise It too, so we will see what Raise It and guys do here, and then we'll figure out what I should do. I am thinking about doing Spags stacks on Sunday or on Monday rather, for what it's worth. So that's something to keep in mind. View count going down. Trying to think if I should do a second draft. It's where my brain's at. All right. See how the vibes take us here. Raise it goes Tyrone Tracy Jr. to close out his draft. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for this other room to fill. But we are going to do a second draft here, guys. So strap in. Trying to keep it discreet, but now I fucked up. All right, share this tab instead. We're in a new draft room. Just filled. Somebody heard me. Thank you, Raise It. Thank you for giving me some room to exist. I appreciate it. We'll see what new names are in here. I recognize Moxieland. Our guy Jeremy figured me out. Hopped into draft 2. So we traded 2 regulars, traded 3 regulars for 2 regulars, it looks like. But another draft here, guys. The only stream in the world where I just fly by the seat of my pants and go, let's hit a second one. So please show some love here. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Again, drafts every Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Most days I'm doing 1 draft. In general, though, some days willing to do 2. And today's one of those days, especially on a fine Friday. And we didn't do 0 RB last draft, so it'd be nice to do that here, unless Christian McCaffrey falls to the 102, and then I will sell myself down the river and do that. No one takes Spags, guys. Stay away. Give me guys. I don't want to be like Pete, where every draft room is me just fucking trying to stay above water in a life jacket. I want to get some good players. Got spoiled by the big board. The changing the draft time, so I wasn't always getting the same dudes in every room. That spoiled me. NF42, what's up, Spags? Good luck season. Good luck to you, too. Good luck to all you guys watching live. Of course, the season's been going on for a while now here on Splash Play, and we'll keep soldiering on. Now, W for Omega's in my head a little about CeeDee Lamb at the 2 spot. But what am I going to do? Take Jamar Chase? Never. CeeDee Lamb, come on down. The risk for CeeDee Lamb, as I've talked about, but I will reiterate because I think it's particularly important for BBM. CeeDee Lamb holding out right now. CeeDee Lamb wants a big deal. He and Jefferson, I think, are both waiting for the other to sign. So that's something there where somebody's going to reset the market. The other guy's going to try to break the market again. That Amon-Ra St. Brown just set himself. So for CeeDee Lamb, if he holds out forever, he's going to come down in ADP. So if he's holding out in July, people are going to freak out about it. They're going to drive him down to probably back to where he was last year and the second round. But I think for CeeDee Lamb right now, I'm taking him at the 2 hole and we'll see. But if you want to read like the longer term tea leaves, I think there's a case to not take CeeDee Lamb right now and to get your 8%, even if you want to get above the field, get that in July, maybe August, if the holdout drags out. But it comes down to if Jefferson signs and there's a market there and Lamb's going to beat him. But I don't think Jefferson wants to be the second highest paid receiver. I think he wants like a favored nations thing where he's number 1. So I think he would prefer that CeeDee Lamb signs, but we will see. Interesting things. CD and JJ side-eyeing that AJ Brown deal. Well, no, because like Amon-Ra got more money. So I think Amon-Ra is now the clubhouse leader in terms of guarantees. So they have to get 80 million at least guaranteed. And I would bet that Jefferson in particular, I feel like Jefferson probably thinks he's worth 100 mil guaranteed. And he's probably right. But that's something to watch out for. A heavy wide receiver run here. So we had 2 guys going up for the running backs, and they are going potentially into Avalanche Town behind them. Yeah, JJ Baggin coming for sure. Being in the game less is in a way being phased out. Not sure what we're talking about there, but okay. Need to go into 10-minute delay. But then I couldn't do the chats, so that's the tough part. Chat's a very important part of the show. So, which is why I get it. Like, I get that the chat goes hand in hand. Like, we're hanging out, we're all chatting, we're having a good time, giving out takes, having some fun, making some risque jokes that Pete Overzet wouldn't approve of, like the Squirt Squad itself. But then, like, I'd like a little more, a little more clean drafts. But at the big board, though, like, it got nice. There was a stretch there. I was just, by doing the drafts, 15 minutes before stream start, I was getting really weird pockets of people. And that was fun for sure. BBM is just always going to be, hit and miss with that. Because BBM fills faster, especially once we get into like June, July, August. BBM rooms will be filling pretty quickly. Not bad as went for RB's rip. Let's see what they do with this pick. Going Kyron here. Oh boy, they're really burying themselves. I mean, look, if you could stick the landing, if you can go Breece Hall and Kyron, great. Though Kyron heading down this way, he's generally being picked now 2-3 turns. So Probably not the best move to take Kyren middle of the second round if you don't have a running back, or if you do have a running back, even if you don't, honestly. Probably just wouldn't take him in the middle of the second round at all, no matter what. Oh, talk about Rashad and Bucky still. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think the Rachaad White thing, people missed a lot. And I'll never forget it because of how tied it was Rachaad White in the DK Millimaker finals. Like, he was the guy that would have carried me through 2 rounds and would have won me at all if he actually had a good day. He and Jerry Jeudy would have. But he just lost that pass game roll down the stretch. Like, they were they were trying to get anybody out there who wasn't him. All right, we have the 0010. Diggs goes to 21 to Jeremy. Not the biggest Debo guy in the world, but I think that's just basically it. Not the biggest Debo guy in the world. I'm actually going to go Nico here. I don't want Debo and Ayuk at fucking 20. I'm tired of people forcing the Niners agenda on me every year. Like, I don't want to pay premium price tags for an offense that's going to trade guys having good weeks. And then you have to really take the entire offense for it to feel good because you're going up against the entire offense if you're getting to the finals. I'm tired of the Niners. I'm tired of the fucking Niners. You want to talk about chalk assumptions that if that were to go wrong, that it would blow up everything? Niners failing this year would be the chalk assumption that could blow up everything. Debo slides back to me here as this guy takes Evans and Laporta. I was thinking about DJ Moore at the last pick. I was thinking about Malik Neighbors at the last pick. And then now we do have a discount on Debo, if that makes me feel more into him. Fuck me. I'm just going to take fucking Debo. Fucking boring-ass Debo. Team so far, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, and D Blow. Am I right, guys? D Blow Assual. We got him. Yeah, I just got a Purdy premium double in a draft last night, too. I mean, the thing is, like, that's the thing is, like, if you're getting the Purdy premium double, that's what... If you don't take all the Niners, you're just going in where, hey, I need Debo to get the week 17 upside, and he's the one that beats all the Niners stacks or like keeps me level with Niners stacks. But if you go into this like the finals and then the teams have Brock Purdy and McCaffrey and Debo, or they all have like McCaffrey and Ayuk or Debo, like you're just going into a fucking buzzsaw of things that are not good. And because the Niners are such a chalk team and they're the one team that people are like, even idiots are like, I have to stack them up because they're a good team. So, like, you're just running into so much shit with that I just don't think it's advantageous, really, to take Ayuk and Debo independently there, unless you're going to go out of the way to get the Niners in some other way. I don't know. Jacob's saying some argument for Houston players. For Houston players to be the disappointment this year? I mean, I guess you can make the argument, yeah. Anytime, and this is what we talked about with Detroit last year, where, like, my assumption was that Detroit was going to make a leap. But when it becomes a chalk assumption that an entire offense is going to go upwards, that does become a thing that you can maybe leverage against. The big bets this year about teams moving upwards. Houston moving upwards is a big bet. Atlanta obviously moving upwards is a huge bet that people have. So if you go against those two in particular, and I would say Green Bay would be the third that people are making of them ascending meaningfully. Those are bets that I think if you go against them and drafts a lot, if they fail, you're going to be right and you're probably going to win a good amount of money or have a shot to win more money. The downside, though, is that if you're wrong, it being a chalk assumption, and then those guys also, like those teams, also looking like they've really loaded up for this year. If you fade in a chalk assumption, then you got to hit on something else that's not chalk. So that makes it harder on you. Let's see what we got chat-wise. Got a Burrow double with it. Okay, double. Yeah, Burrow double with the Niners double is pretty fun. If you can get that. That's DK drafting for you, though. Of course, DraftKings tournament is open now. I don't think we've talked about it on stream yet. At some point, I'll start doing DraftKings drafts, but a $20 prize pool, I'm not dying to fucking deposit that much money to do DraftKings, a site that I don't enjoy that much. So we'll figure it out. The tournament structure, though, is pretty similar to BBM, flatter payouts across the board. I would have been more stoked about it if it were $4 million, $5 million to first. Like that, they're such idiots. Like they sent out fucking surveys, and I think just took the wrong lessons away from the surveys for best ball. Did DraftKings, but either way, we'll do DraftKings drafts at some point. But they're out there right now if you're in a state that doesn't have Underdog. So check out DraftKings drafts, and you're probably going to get a more similar experience to Underdog in the prize pools, if not the drafters themselves, and of course the product as you are doing drafts. Yeah, as our guy Robert Griffin III calls them, the period boys, the guys that take way too many QBs out in full force. So you're probably going to be rewarded being willing to take the flimsier QBs, the guys that I'm willing to take that I think have rookies that are going to have upside, like a Nix, like a May, like a McCarthy. Will Ingram improve? I don't know that I would say he'll improve. I think that he's going to get more yardage this year, I would guess, because of the fact that they have him and Christian Kirk underneath, everybody else being an over-the-top target, Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis in particular. So I guess those are really the only guys we're worried about there. So I would say that Ingram's going to do well. The issue with Ingram, though, is that he wasn't targeted enough in the red zone, and he did have a little bit of a run bad last year in the red zone, too. But touchdowns, I just don't think are going to be there that much. Brian Thomas, he and Keon Coleman are the two guys that can really win in the end zone, in the red zone particularly, especially on jump ball kind of stuff. And I think that's going to hurt Ingram as well. So, again, I think that he and Kirk are fine enough plays, but I really think the touchdowns this year flow through Brian Thomas, flow through ATN, flow through everybody else who's not Kirk and Ingram. All right, next pick coming up here, 0030. If I had taken DJ Moore over Debo, I would have had a nice potential Chicago stack there. But unfortunately, we did not go that way. I think Zay Flowers after ADP here. I'm just going to skip some values. I think we're getting a more unique team by just soaking up the value at this spot. So we have CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Debo Samuel, Zay Flowers, combined 9 picks of value between Debo and Zay Flowers. So if you're going to talk me into taking Debo, this is the way to do it. Even though I think a Chicago stack with CeeDee Lamb and Nico might have been a little bit more fun. A little more fun for how I view things, at least. Mahomes going 48. Interesting there. All right. Interesting spot for me. Oh, I was supposed to take the jersey off. We haven't drafted AR in this round. And in fact, what we are going to do is draft his arch nemesis this round, the biggest feud, the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson of the AFC South. CJ Stroud, come on down. I'll give this team a read in a moment when I take off my shirt. I haven't earned the AR this go around. Team so far, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Debo Samuel, Zay Flowers. Then a QB. We have CJ Stroud, the 2024 MVP of the NFL. Come on down. For what it's worth, that is a take I actually have. If you guys haven't watched the streams so far this year, I think CJ Stroud throws for an incredible amount of yards this year. I think he airs it out. I think this is the year that Houston puts it down in a way like Miami did at times last year, really the last 2 years. But this is it for me. This is the bet. CJ Stroud going off. And I'm happy to do him at pick 50. I don't think he actually should be behind Mahomes, but if he's going to go behind Mahomes, great. I think that he and AR should be ahead of Mahomes in drafts. And that will be reflected in the Spags rankings that you're going to be getting this weekend if you are a paying member of Splash Play. And really full recommendation for him, guys, because I put a lot of work writing those up during the draft in particular. And I'm going to tighten them up tomorrow. I would guess they'll probably be out tomorrow or Sunday in the Splash Play, the Squirt Squad VIP Discord, of course, that you get with being a pay member on here. If you are a paying member, by the way, the Splash Play channel, make sure to sync your Discord with your YouTube. That way you get access to all the I actually think you get all the Deposit Game channels in addition to the Squirt Squad one. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe you get everything in Pete's thing there. Do you like anyone specific on the Packers at their ADP? The guy I like most at ADP is probably Marshawn Lloyd. I like Christian Watson at ADP still. Obviously, I was in the bag for him a lot last year. Still think he's the guy that's got the best chance to be like a true standout fantasy player in that offense, even though Jaden Reed, people like him a lot. But the price tag for him in a target agnostic offense that's deliberately designed to be target agnostic, I think he goes too highly. If he were going the 70s, 80s, I'd feel great about it. But yeah, that's my take on it. Is Watson still, to me, the best guy there? But really, what you should be expecting for Green Bay is like they're going to ping pong spike weeks around because that's what they've built. That's what they talk about. Is like they want to have 4 receivers be capable of having big days because that's how they're going to have value. And you also have Musgrave too there, and Tucker Kraft to a lesser extent. But Musgrave being a downfield target earner who's very good. He is somebody that can take entire drives away from the Packers because of the fact that he can score a 50-yard touchdown in a way that a lot of tight ends in the league cannot. So. I like Green Bay overall, but the price tag for Reed makes me take less Green Bay because then I'm missing out on a key part, and I just don't want to take him when he was in the 40s and 50s. If he's going to be in the 60s, great. And he goes 63 here. Debo single game upside greater than Ayuk single game upside. If you're accounting for the rushing stuff and a pure ceiling outcome, yeah. But I think that Ayuk gets you 20-point games more frequently. There's just so many like 10-point Debo games in between that are just not adding a lot of value. But you got the Skolansky Bucks are getting enough touches and all that. But like, I don't know. Generally, my stance on him. So you're going to do with this pick, 1040. I think this is time for a worthy share. We're just going to keep scooping value in this room. 1040. We have Stroud, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Debo Samuel, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy. I feel like the type here very similar with Zay Flowers and Worthy in particular. But I like the wide receiver room. Unique wide receiver room. I think getting these guys at value, not correlating really yet besides the Stroud stack. So see what we get on the way back here. Watson, a major tier break. Yeah. I mean, I think Watson should be, to me, closer to this group of guys in the 70s, 80s range. But it's not where he's going. Okay, so if I take another receiver here, we're basically extreme zero RB, and we have to dial off receiver, which I don't want to do because I think there's some logical stuff to do later. I'm going to take David Montgomery here. I prefer him. Do I prefer him to Kamara? Yeah, I prefer him to Kamara. Just not a big Kamara guy. Like, not very talented overall at this point in his career. Analytically, gets worse every year. And then you do have, they didn't get the Labe outcome, didn't get the major pass game back that can kind of upset the entire backfield. But Kendra can upset things enough. I don't know. I could be wrong about this one. Kamara's still got a lot of work last year, but he got less work down the stretch, and I think they figured out that he's just not the same Kamara. But that's a bet that I'm not as confident in as, say, like the Bucks falling out of love with Rachaad White. That one I'm very confident in. Kamara, I just don't know. Like, they kind of went weirdly with him, where he was getting so much. He was getting 30 touches a game at one point, and then they ramped him down, and then Kendra kept coming in and out. It seemed like they wanted to see what they had with him. So I don't really know. The big Rachaad White debate in chat going on. Shout out to all you guys watching live right after the fact. Of course, Splash Play new drafts Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. And of course, I do the best to explain my takes, talk about it, obviously look up data when there are things I have questions about, and also to hear you guys as well. If you have takes that make me think about things, like W for Omega today, like your guy Adam yesterday, his claim to fame, what got him on my radar was him talking about Lad McConkey and just hyping him up and then being completely right about the athletic testing in particular. I think this is a very good collaborative show in terms of just hearing everything, trying to sift through the noise and all that. And that's what I would say for you guys out there would be one of the biggest value adds. Kittle at 83, behind Ingram, behind Pitts. Nice price tag, I would say. Yeah. Not the biggest Kittle guy in this current draft ADP landscape, where there's, to me, a legit case for the, 7 tight ends above him? Guess 8 in some rooms. But Kittle at 83, I think would be a fantastic price tag for him. And it would probably increase the amount of Kittle and Purdy stacks that go out there, I would think. Thank you. Gabe Davis here. Best YouTube drafter who doesn't wear a suit jacket. I try my best. I try my best to give you good drafts. I don't have a great fan. Again, I haven't heard the Fantasy Flock guy's voice in a while. I have to hear it, and then I can impersonate it better. Caleb goes at 90 here. So I guess Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze drafter. That makes sense. Keenan Allen, by the way, down to weird price tags in this room. So Marquise Brown goes 49. Normally he's fallen to the 60s, falling behind Xavier Worthy in a lot of rooms. I get Worthy at 71. Keenan Allen goes 55 here. Odunze goes 66. Odunze definitely going the wrong way. But Keenan Allen at one point in the big board was a 40s drafter. He goes, I don't know. I love my team, which is obviously the most important part. All right. I think there's a very logical thing to do here. And unfortunately, it is not taking Brock Bowers. It is taking Jake Ferguson here. And we will hopefully push Dak back to us with that move. Unless Tomby is going to be a buffoon, which is possible. But I don't think he's going to be. He's got his QB. Making me sweat it out. Is Tomby here? Toomey? Tombai? All right. Ooh, Eckler at 97. Don't love that. This is a nice price for Swift, too, going at 100. We'll take Dak Prescott here. We're making the bet here, the Dallas double. And shout out W for Omega, gifted another Splash Play membership. Shout out to you guys. Bindles as well, gifted one earlier. Say thank you. I feel like I'm now the kindergarten teacher, but please say thank you, class, if you get a free membership. Shout out those guys, W for Omega. Appreciate you being in the mix. Do remember the community, but I've had some nice comments with them already, so appreciate it. Let's give this team a read. We've got a 2-1-5-1, so we're absolutely going to have to make it up at running back. We have CJ Stroud and Dak Prescott stacked up. We got Dak Montgomery, David Montgomery at running back. So running back's gonna be the tough one. But CeeDee Lamb, Nico, Deebo Samuel, Zay Flowers, and Xavier Worthy, I'm not in love with, but at pick 71, I think that's where he should be going. And he's been going in the 50s in some rooms. So getting Worthy at 71, happy to do that. And Jake Ferguson completes our Dallas double. So was actually trying to keep optionality to maybe take some other Dallas players later, but I don't think we have to do that anymore. Thanks for the chats and discussion here. Join us. Yes, join us indeed. Love to hear that. Join the Borg or whatever, the Borg, the Blob, whatever you want to call Splash Play. What a steal from Moxieland. DeAndre Swift at 109, or 105 rather. That is a very good place to get DeAndre Swift. I think he should be priced near David Montgomery, personally. Like Zach Moss at 94 and Swift at 105. Not things you are seeing in a lot of rooms. Join the circle. Squirt. Join the pool party. That's a more favorable way of playing it. Oh, man. So, yeah, for people who were curious before, because we did, our guy Jeremy had gotten confused earlier. It was actually this is my 9th BBM5 draft of the year so far. 2 of which were not on stream. There won't be a lot that I do off stream, but I'm not somebody that's guaranteeing all 150. I think our guy Neil Orfield this year going to stream all 150. Kudos to him. You'll get drafts from me every day, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m., but you are not going to get all 150 of my BBMs. Because now that would be impossible. So that's the good news. If you are looking for a cheaper tournament, by the way, the Mini Schnauzer $3.20 max looks like it's going to fill within the next couple days. So get it in there. I might throw one in while I do a walk later today. But that is a tournament that they're trying some new ones out there, and the 20 max filling within 1 week of the normal drafting period is going to be, I think, a normal thing they do a lot. Houston, Dallas, week 17 shootout. Oh, Zach, you are saying something that wasn't even in my mind, but yeah, that'd be fucking sick. The Battle of Texas in week 17 with both teams either playing for seeding, I think more on Houston's side, playing to win a division, potentially on Dallas' side, or make the playoffs even. That'd be so sick. Zach planted a very fun idea in my head that I don't think is possible, but this team would be absolutely loaded, and you probably would not get the DAC Houston or the Dallas Houston team if that were the case. What would that be? That'd be like a 55-point total. I guess it depends how Houston's defense is here, because they could take a pretty big leap too. 2-1-5-1 here. I don't want Tommy to take all the running backs. I'm going to take Singletary here for a little bit of, again, tiebreaker, interdivisional correlation. That's going to be the pick here. We'll see what Tommy does for himself, but I need a running back and I can't lose out. Like, I don't want Gus as the thing I leave this pocket with. Come on, Tommy. All right. So we also get Dalton Schultz. That was what I was sweating a little bit there. Could make the case that I could try to push Dalton Schultz down, given that Dallas Goedert is falling. We're not going to do it today. We have this dream of a Houston-Dallas matchup in week 17 that Zach put in my head, and now we're going to get it. So we have one receiver, one tight end with both of our QBs. We have CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott at QB, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary at running back. So we are going to have to hit volume at running back. CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Deebo Samuel, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy, and Dallas tight ends, former and present, Jake Ferguson and Dalton Schultz. The risk for Ferguson, by the way, is that he's a replacement level talent who's actually performed better than Dalton Schultz. But Luke Schumacher is there, is a guy that takes some work away in year 2 for him. So that's the one thing I'll point out for Ferguson that is a vague concern in the back of my head when you take Jake Ferguson as highly as I did. I picked 95. It would be in Dallas. Oh, yeah, Jerry would fucking politic his ass off to make sure that he got Houston, Dallas, week 17 in Dallas for sure. Singletary is the most boring spike weeks, doesn't he? Yes. I mean, they were less boring when I was getting them in the 150s last year, and I know everybody was like, oh, Singletary's dust. Why are you taking... I'll never forget last year, these Spags stacks for Houston where we had to draft Houston, and I was like, I don't think I need Dameon Pierce to the Houston stack to like have the best version of the Texans team. And boy, the negative comments, I think that might have been one of the more disliked videos because of Houston people or people who just love Dameon Pierce in the year before. And that was one of my most correct takes last year that I feel good about. So to me, Singletary doing anything last year felt great. But I agree, like his spike weeks, he's not scoring you 2 touchdowns. He's getting you like 50 yards receiving, 60 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, maybe 2 if you get really lucky. That's his kind of games, which is good enough. And he is being reunited with, his former coach with Dable. So maybe that matters. Troy Franklin, big breadth of ADPs here. He goes in 135 in this room when the 150s to me in the last draft. So interesting to note for Troy Franklin. You still got believers out there, but that ADP is coming down. I would personally start to let him dip. Take him in the 140s, 150s. Team fucks, I agree. I think this is like a different approach to the team, but like because I took the Debo, because I soaked up the value of Zay Flowers, I've got a lot of great receivers from teams that are, expected to be top teams in the entire conference or, the league. So happy with that. Would have been tempted by Brandon Cooks coming back, so I'm kind of glad he didn't. Cooks, big winner from the draft. Huge winner, you could say. Nobody being added there besides, having Jalen Tolbert getting some more work. Huge. You can see who plays the season, just don't get the dates set for another week or 2. Oh, got it. Yeah, well, if you do like the schedule math, right? Good point. Good point. Still a lot to think about, though, in terms of like if you're trying to juggle that and actually make some teams. All right, so was really hoping one of Gus or Charbonnet fell back to me. It's not going to be the case. We are going to go Jerome Ford here. You guys know he's one of my 0 RB bailouts. He's going to get the work to some amount, start the year. And we'll see what we do with the second pick. Probably a spot to jump up at running back. Zeke in this room went 130, which I think is, again, a very fair price tag for him right now. All right. Pick coming up here. I wanted Marshawn Lloyd out of this group, and we will get him to be our 4th running back. So a 2-4-5-2 here. We're flying a little bit close to the sun. Icarus's wings could melt off here if I don't hit running back and wide receiver well down the stretch. But CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott at QB. Running back, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, Marshawn Lloyd. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Debo Samuel, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy. So we kind of went extreme 0 RB early, but didn't hit the 6th one to keep optionality for later on. So that was a deliberate choice. Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz. Again, Dallas guys here. Similar looking headshots from far. Those are our guys at tight end. So I like the team. Just going to have to work these pockets well. But if we could stick the landing here, let's be one of them. It's honestly 2 good teams today, 2 really different teams. So I'm happy with this. Both teams like to be playing for playoff seeding. I'm sure they're waiting for the Lions-Cowboys game. True. That's true. Lions-Cowboy was huge last year, both for fantasy, TV-wise. I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Zach. If Zach is the one person, I haven't heard nobody say that being a thing that could happen, but that would be a lot of fun. Eagles playing a game in Brazil. That's wild. Hopefully they have a better trip than the Smiling Friends had when they went to Brazil. Didn't even make it out of the airport. It's poor Smiling Friends. I don't know if any of you guys watch that show. I hope somebody out there does. Because otherwise, you guys gonna have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. I don't know the overlap between Best Ball Drafters and Smiling Friends, but I hope it's at least 10%. One of my favorite shows to fall asleep to. Which does make for weird dreams, perhaps. Haven't thought about that saying out loud. Any position, which olds have the best chance to smash and disappoint? Smash would be Keenan Allen for me. I still think that's a pretty good outcome for him being older. Um, QB, Kirk would be it in Atlanta. Running back, Olds. I think a lot of them. Mixon has a shot to smash. Jacobs has a shot to smash. Henry. Those three, I think, are the big Olds that I would say look really good in terms of their landing spots and just what the workload's likely to be. Tight end, Kelsey still can do enough, though. Adding Jared Wiley there, they're really signaling like, hey, we're going to ramp Kelsey down to like 60% snap share this year when he was already coming down aggressively last year. But he's still, spike weeks could be there in a pretty good way. Kittle, honestly, at ADP could be an old that smashes. He's getting a little bit old in the tight end days, and he's had a lot of injuries. But at pick 80, if you get that reliably, I would feel pretty good. Older receivers, Tyler Lockett at ADP, probably good play. Mike Williams, I think, coming off the ACL, I don't want to like advocate for him or anything. I certainly don't take him a lot, but he's going to upset that Jets depth chart a little bit more than expected as long as he can be back and be full go. Just having anybody who's like an actual pro receiver outside of Garrett Wilson is not good for Garrett Wilson. And Corley there too. But, well, of course, we talk about that enough. Garrett Wilson never falls, no matter what. No, thank you. No, thank you on Dameon Pierce. I have no faith in him at this point. If you can't win the job with the new coaching staff initially, you're very unlikely to dig out. And that's one of my biggest beliefs in general. 2-4-5-2 here. Could use more at running back. Chuba, I do buy the dip on, but I'm actually going to take Algier as just kind of a pure handcuff for Atlanta. I think at this point, we could use a guy who scores an occasional touchdown and just maybe can get a lot more. Also, apparently, Kamani Vidal is how I pronounce it. Apparently, his name is pronounced Kimani Vidal, I believe is what. I'm not pulling. This isn't a bit either. That's actually how I pronounce his name. So something to keep in mind. It's a little bit weird. I was not aware of. Do I want the bet on Vidal or Bucky more? I think Vidal moves up more would be my guess. Bucky, I like more as a player. McLaughlin, not in consideration at all for me here. We're going to go Vidal here. Vidal. Ayatollah Khomeini Vidal. Yes. It's a dated reference, but yes, indeed. And yes, slap that like button. I agree. Spoiler alert, Mike Williams will not be full go. Even if he's not full go, he can get 4 targets a game. Being able to get out there, it still takes a lot away from Garrett Wilson. His primary value has been being good enough and getting enough targets. It's like you can't add 2 guys. The Garrett Wilson thing, I think he's the most Skolansky Bucks / like prior investment, like locking in thing. And maybe it ties into the fact that he was so low his first year, where that was before all the rookie wide receivers, people knew to steam him up aggressively. Like he just continues to go. I think here he went pick 16, which I'm a little bit better with. But in so many rooms, he's going pick 10, pick 11. And it's like you added 2 receivers there. You added 2 receivers and 700 running backs. Like I know they didn't add the big tight end, didn't add Brock Bowers. But what would it take for Garrett Wilson to come down? Like he has at this point. You have big money going to Mike Williams. You have them doing the draft day thing of Malachi Corley, no matter what. They're sucking him off in every possible interview now. You have Malachi Corley there. You have Breece Hall and then 5 more running backs coming in. You have Aaron Rodgers coming off the Achilles and him being a guy that is really old and that can reoccur. And then you have Tyrod Taylor being your QB. Like what would it take for Garrett Wilson to drop? Like honestly, I think it would have been Odunze going there would have been the only thing. Odunze or Brock would have been it. But they have the collective weight of an Odunze or Brock coming in when you add 3 guys who are going to command some amount of targets. It'll take Wilson having similar stats with Rodgers as he did with Zach, TBH. I mean, so first of all, like we need to dispel the fact that Aaron Rodgers was a good fantasy QB when he last played. 2 years ago, he wasn't a good fantasy QB. The second part is like, so you wanted to play as well as he did last year where he wasn't that good and wasn't worth a first round pick? Like what? I don't know. I've caped a lot against Garrett Wilson, so I don't want to repeat the tropes here. No, we have a lot of new people coming in for BBM, but the Garrett Wilson ADP continues to be one of the most baffling things to me, and I don't get the psychology behind it at all. Like, I think it's that you're waiting for this breakout that's just never, like this, he's already had his breakout. Like his breakout is putting up 1,000 yards. Being okay. Sucking him off. There we go. What a callback. Sucking him off is how you get Herbert bags. Yeah. Back in the 1930s, the Great Depression, got your Herbert bags, and you just couldn't dig out of it. The medicine couldn't cure it back then. Wilson and London are similar bets to me. I guess with London, you could give him the cover of bad QB play, whereas Wilson, he's also getting that cover, but at a higher price tag. So then, but if that's the case, then why is like the people think Wilson is worth like a top 5 pick really, but he's getting the cover because he's had bad QB play and that's why he's going at the end of the like the 1-2 turn. I think there's like a big logical fallacy with Garrett Wilson personally, but I don't think you're wrong that London and Wilson are similar plays. Like you're making a bet there on something getting better that can't quite be projected. And I think that's how it is with the Jets. Is like the breakout there can't really be projected. There are things that I have take-wise too that I'm sure can be projected, like the Denver breakout stuff that I like, Chicago being good with those 3 guys, a receiver being like, and also having enough for Swift. Like that might not be as projectable either. So I'm not immune to like those kind of biases too. But because I don't have this bias in the Jets, it stands out really aggressively that I don't think it makes sense to me on either side of the equation. Yeah, Garrett Wilson's the purgatory. Damn, I got the 112 again. That is a good way to sum it up. I agree with that. All right, you know what? Like we have a 2-6-5-2 here. I feel really good about my top 5 at receiver. That I think we get a little luxury as a treat. Ben Sinnott pick. Sometimes I could have a little Ben Sinnott as a treat. He's on the thumbnail behind me. You guys don't even know who he is. You don't know his face. And frankly, the Kansas State jerseys don't do a whole lot to tell you who it is. But it's Ben Sinnott, my boy. Ben Sinnott, the biggest belief I have. He's going at 190 in this draft. He's going to the 150s in other rooms. Fuck yeah. I didn't need the 3rd tight end, but it doesn't hurt. So now all you guys are going to be stacking Houston and Dallas in week 17 for their matchup. Now I've got this. I've got the trump card with Ben Sinnott as well. All right, we're going to have to get creative at receiver here. That much I can say. So we have a 2-6-5-3 here. So now we're just going for like over the top upside. Who can win a role that is currently not being projected to have a role? You know what? Jalen Tolbert might be a good pick here. See our guy Chunk saying it. There was somebody else I was eyeing at first, but yes, we'll take Jalen Tolbert here. A little more correlation for Dak. Try to pinpoint that occasional spike week that he gets. That's our first pick here. And then we're taking another receiver. So not 7 running backs today, 7 receivers. Part of me, though, like, so this is the thing that Hayden Winks has talked about, and I know I've talked about it as well on stream with the extreme Zero RB stuff. You know, part of the thing with Zero RB, the way you benefit the most from Zero RB is an uncomfortable build, one where it's like it feels a little bit too thin, but you took receivers at high enough draft capital that if they're all hitting pretty okay, like that team's still going to work no matter what. Kind of wonder if I could have gotten away with that here of just going with the top 5. I feel like if I had a better player than Xavier Worthy at 5 here, where if it were like Christian Kirk, if Christian Kirk were my wide receiver 5 here, I think this team, you could have done 5 receivers and been like, I don't really need another receiver. So interesting thing to think about is all. Because you got like these crazy values at ADP where we did scoop Debo, Zay at ADP values, Worthy as an ADP value as well. I don't know. Might have been able to get away with a 5 wide receiver, 0 RB build. Team needed Corum. The thing is, like, if Corum's price tag is right, I think you could take Corum. If you're not taking Kyron, you take Corum sometimes. I think that'd be okay. I just haven't yet seen the Corum price tag line that I want to be there yet. 126 doesn't do it for me. Like, you shouldn't go ahead of Chase Brown and Zeke. That's stupid. Corum should be more in this Charbonnet range, I think. But this room has kind of jumped around a lot in ADP in a way that doesn't make the most sense. Best DK team last year just needed the top 5 receivers. Bottom 3 were usually useless. See, the usually part would spook me a little bit because if you had a couple spike weeks, that might have been the difference between you advancing or not. So like I can't say anecdotally off of that how confident I would be. I might actually play around the RotoViz roster construction tool because I think if you go extreme 0 RB and you go first 5 rounds like wide receiver, maybe 5 out of first 6, I think it's going to be a little more viable than you would think. Still think 6 receivers, though, generally. Like, that's usually the minimum for an extreme 0 RB build. And you have to get the 6 in the first 7, 8 rounds at a minimum. All right, last pick's coming up here. So we need either like a breakout guy at receiver or maybe just like another little correlation play, which candidly, Mechie and Noah Brown would be it. But there could be a higher upside play that I'm still intrigued by and I have not gotten a share of yet in BBM. See what this last pick does here, and then we'll give the team a read. And I guess we can look at my exposures real fast too. Why not? All right, we got final pick here. So I'm torn between these two guys. Brendan Rice, you guys know I love. I do think it's an ambiguous depth chart, though adding DJ Chark does kind of make it tougher for Brendan Rice to get on the field. There's one signing we haven't talked about, might have slipped past your radar, but DJ Chark going to the Chargers is not great. Just giving another body there for everybody that could block him. I'm going to go Noah Brown here. I was going to ask you guys, but I think now that I'm talking about it, I don't think Brendan Rice is going to be a play again until July. If he gets on the field, if he's working with the first team, he's a play. If not, sucks. CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott at QB. All right, well, never mind. Let's refresh. Let's see if I can get my exposures here for everything. Try to give it a chance to get all right. It's only got 3 teams worth. Let's give this team a read, though, first. All right, final team for the day. CJ Stroud and Dak Prescott at QB. Very interesting start here. Huge value on Dak, by the way. 16 picks after ADP. David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, Marshawn Lloyd, Tyler Algier, Kamani Vidal, a.k.a. Vidal, I believe is how you're supposed to pronounce his name. CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Deebo Samuel, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Tolbert, Noah Brown. So we got the flimsy stack partners here late. Then we got Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz, and Ben Sinnott, 20 picks after ADP, 40 picks after he's gone in some draft rooms. That's that. All right, let's look at exposure again. We got 9 teams so far after a week of drafting. I am at 56% Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, 22% of them, AR, 22%, Jared Goff, 11, Will Levis, 11. It's a lot of 11s here. But this is what I do at QB. I try to keep my spread pretty narrow. So we have one team with all of these QBs, 2 teams with these QBs, and a lot of teams with Jaden Daniels. No surprises to you guys there. Bucky Irving, my highest exposed right now at running back. Brian Robinson, number 2. David Montgomery, number 3. Zeke, number 4, which, boy, you told me that in January. I would have been surprised. But I actually probably would have gone, I guess that fucker's going to Dallas. I guess that fucker's going to Dallas, huh? Is what I would have said in January. Chase Brown, number 5. But again, a lot of guys here getting the share right now. Free Audric Estime right there. And frankly, Estime, report's looking good. I don't want to get in too much because I'm already in the bag for him, but it's looking good. Terry McLaurin, he's in 44% of my drafts. Troy Franklin in 44%. The only guys there that have made it in 4 drafts so far. Zay Flowers, I didn't know I've gotten him 3 times. DeAndre Hopkins, Mims. So obviously the Bo Nix bet coming in here at cheap. That to me, that's the Houston bet of the year, guys. That last year, I was one of very few streamers who took the CJ Stroud stack a lot. I think this year, the Denver stack is the Houston stack in terms of price tag, though. I guess you could say maybe Washington is too. Tight end, Ben Sinnott, my number 1 right now, $125. 5 entries put in for him. $75 going to Sam Laporta. 3 teams with him so far. 3 for Bowers as well. 2 for Schultz. 2 for McBride. Everybody else at 1. So like the exposures after 1 week. I think I should do this on stream every week to keep myself honest, and we'll do that here. So the big plug right now, guys. So if you want all my takes distilled into one document, Spags rankings coming out either tomorrow or Sunday, but they are coming out this weekend no matter what. So join down below, $4.99 a month. You'll get access to the Spags rankings. I will put it out as a community post on YouTube, as well as in the Splash Play Discord, the Squirt Squad VIP one that you get access to. So just sync your Discord with YouTube. Either way, though, you'll be getting access to my rankings, and you can upload them yourself. You just have to paste over the uploads, the CSV upload on Underdog, or you just read through them, read my takes about 250-ish players, I guess more like 215 right now. I'll probably get to 225 by the time I finish it and rearrange everybody, but that's coming out. So the goal is going to be to update that about weekly if I can, mostly moving guys around. But it's a document that I'm very happy with that I think will add value to what you guys are doing. And of course, you can see some of the metrics I talk about as well. So check it out. Hit the join button down below for $4.99 a month. Again, hit that like button and subscribe, guys. You get a lot of perks here for being a paid member, but being here for free too. I give you my best takes that I can possibly based off the data, based off the news out there, the reports, things that you can trust. I sift through it all for you every day and talk about it. And that's what I think the value is of Splash Play. So come back every day, Monday to Friday, new drafts at 11 a.m. If you want to support the show, great way to do that is hit that join button. Second best way to do that, support my sports betting app, Probably. Build your bankroll for best ball using the promo code SPLASH on probably.com/subscribe. Gets you half off a month or a year of our data, both of which help me out a lot. So check that out. All right, reading of names here. Got a few members who are new. Of course, one of the perks here is I will read your name aloud and show your name on the credits every video. And all right, I don't have any impressions in mind, so we're just going to go with my normal voice, but I'll do it announcer style. Robert Griffin III, Historical Anomalies, Matthew Emerson, Tyler, CLM, Mathology, Rupesh, Willis is awesome, Ivan, Port, Tony Mark, aka Io, Rob Van Natten, Brandon Wagner, Consigliere, Aaron D, Nez, Jake Twitchell, fucking alpha, Mr. I am the KY, Kevin Castro. Let's do it like a destruction, demolition derby. That's the phrase, right? Kevin Castro, Lateralis, lunchable connoisseur, short gamer, Carlos Med. Now we're getting a strip club DJ voice. Carlos Manzo coming to the stage. Felix Castro, Chunk the Deuce, Gabe Davis, Bindles, Frank, Nolan, Thomas Schultz, Laces Out, Mr. TD, Jay Strez, Galen Stars, Christopher, Jeff Teed, Wounded Geese, Ben Havard, Jeff F, Craig B, Recipes with Reed, Body Bag Jones, Richard Devo, Jason Neff, Michael Thomas, Unbanned and Back, Steel City Blue, Thomas Avery, W for Omega, Fecal Steed, Shit Kid, Tyler Loesch, Mike Robb, Sip, D Will, Chris Ford, Artillery Frost, and Ben Bauer. Brett Bauer coming to the stage, ladies. Tip your bartenders. Tip them kindly. Been a fun week, guys. Draft and BBM here. Promo code SPLASH. You know the deal on there. Get your deposit match up to $100. New promo codes coming for them too soon. So there's going to be some different deposits going on there. Take advantage of this one while you can. Get your deposit match up to $100. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And I'll be back on Monday, guys. So, hey, enjoy your weekends. Have some fun out there. Happy Cinco de Mayo. And happy weekend to me. No wife and baby. I'll be sad that I missed the baby. Good luck, guys. Bye.